Hi, this is Ms. Trevino, and today we're going to go over electromagnetic wave practice problems. You do have an assignment to do today, and I've also included a formula chart to help you out in case you need it. So let's go ahead and do our notes, practice problems. We're going to start off by writing the speed of light formula, and that formula is the speed of light is equal to distance over time. Pretty easy formula. There is a triangle to go with it if you want to use it. Distance is going to go at the top, speed of light and time go at the bottom. It's a pretty easy formula. It's very similar to velocity equals distance over time, as well as speed equals distance over time. Same concept. Except here, C stands for speed of light. It could also be velocity of light. And that number is always going to be 3.0 times 10 to the 8th meters per second. Meters per second is just the unit. 3 times 10 to the 8th is the actual number. So that means it's 3 with 8 zeros behind it. Then we have D. That stands for distance. And distance is always going to be measured in meters. R just M. And then finally, we have T. That stands for time. And time is always going to be measured in seconds or just S. So let's go ahead and do our practice problem. When you look at a distant star or planet, you are looking back in time. How far back in time are you looking when you observe Pluto through the telescope from a distance of 5.91 times 10 to the 12th meters? Well, this is going to be our distance because it says distance. We want to know how far back in time, so we're looking for time. And we're always going to know our speed of light. Speed of light is always going to be 3 times 10 to the 8th. Typically, in these problems for electromagnetic waves, if I don't give you a velocity and I'm not asking you to find the velocity, you could assume that these electromagnetic waves all have the velocity of 3 times 10 to the 8th. So we know that. For these notes, I typed out how to rewrite the formula. This time it's distance over speed of light. If you wanted to use your triangle to find time, remember cover up triangle T. And then you have D over C, distance over speed of light. I even gave you some boxes to fill in instead of just writing it freehand. So our distance is going to be 5.91 times 10 to the 12th power. And remember, when you're typing these into the calculator, this time you do have to use a parentheses. The velocity down at the bottom, C, speed of light, that's going to be 3 times 10 to the 8th. You could put 3.0, but I'm just going to leave it as 3. 3 times 10 to the 8th meters per second. Now I'm going to solve. What I'm going to do is use my calculator on the computer so that way you can follow along using your calculator on the computer as well. I'm going to change it to scientific notation by clicking this navigation bar. So now I'm in scientific and now I have parentheses, and that's what I'm going to use to help me solve these problems. So I'm going to start with the open parentheses first, 5.91. Then I'm going to multiply that. I have to type the exponent first. So 12 is the exponent. Then I can type 10, and it'll give me 5.91 times 10 to the 12th power. But I do have to close the parentheses. See where it says 1? Now I need to close it with 2. Now it's fully closed. That's my answer for the top part. I'm going to hit equals. Then I'm going to divide that. I'm going to open up my parentheses again for the bottom number, 3 times 10 to the 8th. I'm typing in 3 times, I'm going to type 8 because I'm doing 10 to the 8th. So here's the 10x. Then I can see up here it's 3 times 10 to the 8th power. Remember, I still have one open parenthesis, so I need to close it. That's going to close out my answer for the bottom. If I hit equals, that gives me my actual answer. So I'm going to write 19700. If I want my answer in scientific notation, all you have to do is hit FE. You're going to hit FE, and that's going to give you 1.97. That E stands for 10, so 1.97 times 10 to the 4th power. So my answer underneath that, I'm going to write 1.97 times 10 to the 4th power. And that's going to help you with today's assignment because your answers in today's assignment are in exponents. All right, let's go on to the back of this worksheet. So remember, with speed of light, it is a wave. We can also use the value of speed of light for velocity of a wave if we wanted to. And this formula is going to be written as velocity of a wave is equal to wavelength times frequency. If this looks familiar, that's perfectly fine. We actually did do this formula in the last unit with mechanical waves. So all the values still mean the same thing. V is for velocity of a wave. If I put a W here, that would be velocity of a wave, but I'm just going to leave it as velocity. And that's measured in meters per second. Then I have my wavelength. That's going to be measured in meters, rm. And then my F stands for frequency. And that's going to be measured in hertz or Hz. Again, we've done this problem before. We've done this formula before. Hopefully it's not too hard to remember. Let's go with our practice problem. Calculate the frequency of yellow light with a wavelength of 6 times 10 to the negative 7th meters. Okay, so we want to find the frequency. That's what we're looking for. We have the wavelength of 6 times 10 to the negative 7th. And we're also always going to know the speed of light. Even though it's yellow, it still has that same speed of light. That velocity is going to equal speed of light, which equals 3.0 times 10 to the 8th meters per second. So just again, velocity equals speed of light. They're often interchangeable. Again, if I don't give you the value of velocity or speed of light, just assume it's going to be 3 times 10 to the 8th power. So let's solve this problem. There is a triangle if you need to use it. Velocity is going to go on top, wavelength and frequency go on the bottom. I did give you the formula here. We're looking for frequency, F. If you cover that up, it's just velocity divided by wavelength, which is what I have here. Instead, I have speed of light, same as velocity, still going to work. Divide that by wavelength. So my frequency equals, I'm going to put in my parentheses 3 times 10 to the 8th power, my speed of light, my velocity. For my wavelength, I'm going to put 6 times 10 to the negative 7th. I have to put it in parentheses too, don't forget. I'm not going to add the 0.00. You can if you want, but it's still the same thing as saying 6 times 10 to the negative 7th power, close parentheses. All right, let's do this on the calculator again. I'm going to clear everything out. I'm going to start my parentheses with 3 times, I'm going to put the 8 for 10 to the 8th, close parentheses. I actually don't like the way that looks, so I'm going to clear that out and hit FE again. So open parentheses, 3 times 8th power, 10 exponent, close it. So now I have 3 times 10 to the 8th. Then I'm dividing it by 6 times 10 to the negative 7th. So divide sign, open parentheses, 6 times. This time I need a negative 7, so what I'm going to do is type my 7, hit my negative sign, so that becomes negative 7, and then I'm going to do my 10x button. So now I have 6 times 10 to the negative 7th, and then I need to close the parentheses. Then I'm going to hit equal. That's going to give me a big old number, and I want to change that back into scientific notation, so I'm going to hit this FE button. And that is going to give me 5 times 10 to the 14th power. So 5 times 10 to the 14th power. That's how I'm going to write my answer. And since I'm looking for frequency, my unit is in hertz. All right, we got one more problem to do. This is our speed, our velocity formula. Again, this is another formula we've already used. We already know what it is. It's velocity equals distance over time. Or we can use speed equals distance over time. Remember, velocity and speed are kind of the same, except speed does not have direction. Velocity does have direction. There is a triangle for this if you want to use it. Distance goes at the top, speed or velocity goes at the bottom, as well as time. And for the units, V equals velocity. Again, that's measured in meters per second. D equals distance. That's going to be in meters or M. And then we have T equals time, and that's measured in seconds. So with this problem, we have a radio wave that travels 7.00 times 10 to the 7th power meters in 2.9 seconds. What is the velocity of the radio wave? So we have our distance that it's traveling. We have the time it travels in. We're looking for velocity. So distance is 7 times 10 to the 7th. You can write 7.00, but I'm not going to. And time is 2.9 seconds. Again, what you're looking for is velocity. If you're using your triangle, it's just distance over time, which is the actual formula. So for my distance, I'm going to use my parentheses again. 7 times 10 to the 7th power, close parentheses. Then I'm going to divide that by parentheses again, 2.9. You don't need to put a parentheses around the 2.9, but I want you to get in the habit of doing so, just in case you forget to do it when you need to on an exponent. All right, let's clear this out. I'm going to change it back to regular so I can see what I'm typing clearly. I'm going to start off by my open parentheses, 7 times, it's going to be 10 to the 7th power, so I'm typing in another 7 with the 10x, and I'm going to close that parentheses. So I have 7 times 10 to the 7th power. Then I'm going to divide that with another open parentheses, 2.9 seconds, close parentheses, have it right here at the top. Looks good. I'm going to hit equals. It's going to give me a big number. I'm going to hit FE, and that's going to change my answer to scientific notation. I do not need to add all of these digits. You can add just the first couple of few if you want. So I'm going to do 2.4. 2.4. I'm going to forget all these numbers. They are important, but I'm not going to write them down. Instead, I'm just going to skip to the 10 plus 7. So that's times 10 to the 7th power. And that is my answer. Hopefully this makes sense, and I hope I showed you how to use the calculator and that you can use this on your assignment today. If you need any help, make sure you ask me tomorrow, Friday, when I'm back. Or you can send me an email. I prefer messages on Schoology rather than my personal email, but either way is fine. All right, if you have any questions, let me know. Good luck.